Hi and welcome to the Sewing Studio. I'm Anna, and in this video I am going to walk you through the Brother VQ2 sewing machine. I'm going to talk you through all its features and functions, show you everything that comes in the box, show you how to thread the machine, use some of its functions and stitches, show you its capabilities, and then talk a bit about warranty and support. So if there's a particular section that you're interested in, we've split them into chapters, so feel free just to head on to that one. So the Brother VQ2 is a larger size sewing machine, as you can see, and it gives you 11 1/4, the quarter is very important, of inches to the right of the needle. You'll find hundreds of different stitch options on this machine, and they are all within this large touch screen here. Very easy to operate, easy to select between your stitches. There's utility stitches, quilting stitches, heirloom stitches, every type of stitch that you could want, automatic buttonholes, and there's also sideways stitches. So this machine has the capability to sew sideways. Sounds funny, right? But don't worry, I will show you when we get to the sewing section. Also, because it has that sideways feed, it has larger decorative stitches as well, so you can get them up to 40mm wide, and I will show you some of them as well. You have the ability, like on most other machines, to change the length and the width of the stitch, and the width on this machine, the maximum is 7mm, and the maximum length is 5mm. You also have the ability to mirror those stitches. I didn't say there's alphabets in there as well, did I? I think there's 5 different alphabets in there. And if all those stitch options weren't enough, you've also got a My Custom Stitch feature where you can create your own. It's a computerized machine, so you don't have to operate it with the foot pedal. It comes with a foot pedal, don't get me wrong, but it also has a start-stop button. And therefore, you've got your speed control here. Now, this sewing machine stitches up to just over 1,000 stitches per minute at top speed, but you have the ability to control that so that you get nice, perfect results. And then there's lots of automatic features on this machine. So it has automatic tension, and in behind the screen there's different sewing tutorials and things that when you press them, it will set everything up for you in terms of the pressure that's applied to the presser foot, because that's automatic, the tension, and it really does make life easy for you. The needle threader, you just lay in the thread in and press in a button. It's really whizzy and fantastic. You've then got your reversing stitch, your locking stitch, and your needle up, needle down. And you can program that for the needle to either stay down or up when you finish sewing, whichever you prefer. Now this has an electronic presser foot, so that gives you the option to have a pivot function. So that's where when you stop sewing, the needle stays down and the presser foot will automatically come up. You can very simply turn your work and then carry on sewing again. So your hands are on the work and it just makes everything quicker. The presser foot has an extra high lift, so even though you've got the button there and it's automatic, it does also have a lever here if that's the way you prefer to operate it, but you can go higher to fit any of your bulky items in underneath. The feed dogs are Brother's 7-point feed dog system, and it's a square feed drive, which I'm not going to get too technical. Basically, it just means that it really controls the fabric very well whilst you're sewing and while it's under that needle and the needle's going through the fabric to give you really nice results. Those teeth can be dropped as well, so you can do any kind of free motion work. The bobbin very simply drops in the top there, and then you can lay it in the quick set. No need to draw up the thread. You've got a little cutter on the side here to cut your threads off, but there is also the magic scissor button. So you can press that one and it will cut your threads for you. I've already said about the needle threader. It's so whizzy, I was going to say it again, but I've already said that. So the last thing I've forgotten is that there is a knee lift option on here for your presser foot as well. So if you're doing something like a plique and things like that and turning corners where you just want to slacken the pressure off a bit, you've got a knee lift that you can do that with. It also has a free arm if I take this off. So you can sew any hems or cuffs in there. And then in this tray, you've got storage both at the back and the front. And in here, there is a tray that very neatly houses some of the feet that come with the machine. So what's in the box? So the feet that come with the machine start with the standard foot that's already on there, a zip foot, an overcasting foot, one for blind hems, monogramming, for sewing on buttons, your one-step buttonhole foot, 1/4 inch foot with guide, an open toe Freemotion foot, and a walking foot. A range of accessories, as well as an operation manual, your power lead, foot control, and the knee lift. It also has a stiff cover that goes over the top. Now this machine weighs just over 15 kilos, so it's not the most transportable, but doable if you need to. And this goes over the top just to help keep it clean and protected. So let's move into the sewing section. I'll show you how to thread it, and we'll have some fun looking at its capabilities and the different types of stitches that you can achieve. So to thread the machine, you just want to pop the top up, and then just grab the end of my thread, wherever it's gone. There it is. Pop the spool on the spool pin, and then a cap on the end. And then everything is numbered for you. There is another spool pin on the top there for if you were doing any twin needle work. Just so you're aware. So, sorry, I just went zooming off then. So like I say, everything is numbered for you. So you've got number 1, around to number 2, down and around number 3, in the take-up lever number 4, down through number 5, and then number 6 is the last guide in the top there. So for the needle threader, you just want to lay the thread, there's a little gap there, and then under this until you hear a click. Not sure if you can hear that, but there was a very slight click. And then I'll just cut the excess off there. And then you just press this button here for threading the needle. So there's a little arrow that goes through the eye of the needle. So you press that. And hey presto, the needle is threaded. For your bobbin, you want to just push that to the right and the cover pops off. And then it always goes with the tail of thread to the left. So you just drop that in. And again, you've got arrows here for you. And what's really good on this machine is if you forget any of this or when you're first learning, yes, you have your manual, but in here as well, no, in that one, sorry, there's operation guides. So basic operation here, I can click on this and it's going to tell me how to load my bobbin. Also, if I press that one, there's a video that shows me what to do. So it's always on hand in case you're just not quite sure. Close out of that. So you drop it in, keep your finger on the top, and you go under this lip and then in and around the quick set, and there's a little blade there to cut off the end, and then just pop the cover back on. And as I say, there's no need to draw up the bobbin thread, but you can if you want to. So I'm just going to pop the thread under the foot. So when you switch the machine on, it'll always default to the standard straight stitch here. Navigating between the stitches is really easy. They're kind of in folders, if you like. So you've got all your utility stitches here. You can scroll down through the pages. And then more utility in there, your blanket stitches, overcasting, things like that. Your one-step buttonholes, multi-directional, quilting, you get the idea. So let's go to a standard straight stitch minute, and I'm going to activate the pivot function that I was talking about, which is this symbol here. So when I stop, actually, I'll go first so that you see it without it, and then it will show you more what I'm talking about. So I'm going to drop the presser foot. I'm not using the foot pedal, I'm using the start-stop button, and I'm on the slowest speed here. So just make a start. To secure that, I can just reverse back as far as I want to, and then come forward again. So slow, as you can see, is quite manageable. So if I go up to midway, so quiet, this machine. And then full speed. Just secure those. As I say, top speed is just over 1,000 stitches per minute. I think it's 1,050. So I finished what I'm doing. The foot's still down, the needle's still in. So I'm going to press my scissor button. A little blade is shot out, cut those threads off, raise the presser foot, and I can just take the work out. And that's your nice, neat, straight stitch. That's the underneath. Oh, I don't know where that came from. Okay, so now let's engage the presser foot for the pivot function. So I'm going to do the same thing again, and then you'll see what I mean. So drop that in, go a bit slower. Come back. And this time when I stop, the needle's stayed in, the presser foot has automatically come up, so I can just pivot my fabric and go again. I can just pivot and go again. Pivot and go again. But that's really handy as well if you were doing some patchwork, for instance, and you were chain piecing, you can just pop your next piece in. And that works as well if you're using the foot pedal. As soon as you take your foot off and it stops, it leaves it in exactly the same position for you to just carry on and do what you need to do. It sounds very simple, but it really does make a difference when you're sewing in terms of time, and all you're focusing on and worrying about is the fabric. So let's take a look at the multi-directional, and that's in this folder here. So you can sew leftways. That's not the right way to put it, is it? You can sew sideways, both left to right, and diagonal as well. It's really good for sewing on patches, and also that reinforcement square, like on a bag handle or something like that. So let's pop the fabric underneath. I like to go slow with this so I can match up my corners exactly. So let's start going. Okay, let's go down first. That seems logical to me. Oh, look, see? That's how genius this machine is. So I hadn't lowered the presser foot, and it's telling me that I haven't done that. Rather than just not doing what I want it to do, it's told me what's wrong. So let's lower that in. And then sew our square. Okay. So I've come down the right side, and then I'm going to select to go to the left. Let's go a bit quicker. Stop there. So then I'm going to go back up. And this is where you kind of have to watch to line it up with where you were. See, I think I've gone one too many. Let's come forward one. There. Oh, that's tempting, isn't it? Just to pivot it around. No, that's not what we're doing. So let's go back to the right. Seems very strange, doesn't it, for it to be going sideways. And then I'm just going to look to see where I match up with my first stitch. Then let's go down the diagonal. So I want to go down that way. Look at it go, it's fascinating. And then you can come back, where are we? This way. going to raise my needle so that I get it down where I was on the line before. Just so I match in. And then back up the diagonal in the other direction. It comes down on the diagonal. Oh no, ignore me, up that way. Of course it does. You can tell I've not done this too often, can you? I'm going to secure that with the lock-in stitch. So just a couple of stitches on the spot. And there you can see how you've got your nice reinforcement in there. Very, very easy to do, nice and neat on the back. Now, because it's capable of sewing in different directions, you can get really wide, as I was saying, decorative stitches. They're located in the character decorative stitch folder. Okay to delete the selected pattern. Yes, I'm done with that. And then if we pop in this one, and let's go down to, this is quite a nice stitch here. Let's choose that one. So you can see on here that it's already going to be quite wide. Now it's telling me here to use foot N, which is the monogramming foot. And the reason being is that it has a groove cut out underneath, so it can handle the density of the stitches that are going to be on the top of the fabric. These just snap on and off, so you just push that to take that out, and then drop, whoops, the presser foot on the bar to snap it back on. And then there's nothing else we need to do because it's just a stitch program. You just kind of want to keep your fabric straight, but otherwise let it do its thing. So you can see there, when I wanted to finish, I pressed this locking stitch button, and that's because this has two functions. So A, it does a locking stitch, securing stitch, reinforcing stitch, whatever you want to call it, by just doing as many times as you press it, it will sew on the spot for you to reinforce your seams and the end of your row, etc. It's also a pattern end. So when you're doing one of the decorative stitches, or if you've programmed in a sequence of stitches, and you want to finish on a complete pattern when you get to the end of your piece of fabric, you can press that one and it will carry on sewing until it's the end of the design. And that's a really pretty stitch and nice and wide, and that would look lovely like across the top of a pocket, around a collar, you know, if you're doing a bag, you could put it around the flap of a bag, on quilts, all sorts of different things that you can do that. And there's quite a few of those stitches in there. Whilst I've got the monogramming foot on, let's take a look at the fonts that are in here. So close that one out and then you can go into the font symbol. There's all sorts of other decorative stitches and things in here, and this is where you access the My Custom stitch as well to create your own, and you can also save stitches to the memory and everything in there. So let's delete that stitch out and then go to the fonts. You've got a few different styles here. Let's just go for block. Let's just type the word brother. So we've got a capital B, and then down here to toggle to lowercase O-T. It's always awkward when it's in alphabetical order. There we go. And then in here you've got numbers and characters, more kind of characters, and then your accents in there. So let's stitch out the word brother. I can show you what that looks like. I'm not used to the foot on a button. I keep going to do it automatically like we do. And there you go. They're really nice big letters and very legible on this machine. Each letter, if you like, is secured in the stitch. So if you want to just take out these little joining stitches with your stitch unpick, then it's not going to unravel. That'll be perfectly fine. So buttonholes then. Let's pop that foot off. Grab the buttonhole foot and I'll show you how it works and what they sew out like. So you just want to pull the back of the foot out, pop your button in and then clamp it shut. And then that gives the machine a size then of how big it needs to sew the button for your buttonhole with a couple of mil tolerance so it can get in and out the buttonhole nice and easily. And then it just snaps onto this bar at the front here. So you just want to line it up and drop your presser foot. And that's that on there. Then you want to get this needle thread down in underneath the foot. And the easiest way to do that is just put a piece of fabric in, drop your needle down, back up again, and then pull it through. And that didn't work. We'll try that again, shall we? Drop it down, back up, and pull it through. There you go. And that's through to the other side. So the buttonholes are in the utility stitch section, so we'll delete this out, go into the utility and then in the buttonholes here. I'm using cotton, so I'm going to go for the standard buttonhole. And the last thing we need to do is bring down the buttonhole sensor. Now this is located just behind the needle threader and it comes all the way down and sits the other side of that metal pin there. You can make a little mark on the fabric of where you want the buttonhole to start and it's going to sew it that way. And then there's a little viewing window that you can line that up with. Just move that out the road and off we go. There's your nice neat buttonhole. That's on the top and that's underneath. So next I'll show you how to fit the walking foot. Now we have an extra piece that goes onto the shank here and this is because Brother have been quite ingenious in making feet that are interchangeable between machines. Now most of Brother machines are what's called a low shank and what that means is that this bar here sits quite low and this foot fits all of those machines. This machine happens to be a high shank, so at the moment this doesn't fit this machine. You need to add this piece on to convert it, if you like, into a low shank. So it's just taking out that screw. This is like a half moon piece, so you just put it the right way around and then screw it back in and it's now made it a low shank. And it's a really good idea because, as I say, this isn't the most transportable machine. So if you do have another Brother machine that you're taking away to classes and things and stuff, as long as it's a 7mm stitch width, then you can take this foot and it'll fit that machine as well. So to actually put the foot on, you just want to take the screw, sorry, my hand's in the way, isn't it, out of this lower piece of the shank. This piece here needs to straddle the needle bar, so I find it easier just to lower the needle slightly, pop that over there, and then this piece clips on. Well, it doesn't clip, it just sits around there, and you can just pop the screw back in there. So I'm just going to do that up. Just do a couple of final turns on both of them with the screwdriver. Oh, wrong one. That one, and then finish this one off. There it goes, and that's it, all done. So I'm going to pop the needle back up, just going to draw that thread out as it will come unthreaded before I do that. And the idea of these walking foot is that there's teeth here. So they, like the teeth underneath here, feed fabric. This from the bottom, this feeds the fabric on the top. Stumbling over my words. So when you're doing things like quilt layers, slippy fabric, vinyl, things like that, things that are tricky to sew and you don't want any shift but they're prone to shifting, that's when this foot comes into play. So you just pop your fabric in underneath, drop the foot down. I'm still on a buttonhole, which is going to be a disaster with this foot, so I'm going to go back to a straight stitch. I'm going to do a couple of securing stitches and then just come forward. And you can see how these teeth are going up and down and feeding the fabric on the top as the teeth underneath are feeding it on the bottom. Let's just secure those again. In the layers, and it's nice and consistent. The stitches are nice and neat, both underneath as well. I've got some stretchy jersey here that's cut from an old t-shirt, so I'm going to pop a jersey needle in, and it just takes universal needles with the flat bit at the back, and you just pop them up as far as it will go, and then tighten the screw. And I usually do just like a last quarter turn with a screwdriver. Thread the eye. Okay. So this material has a slight rib to it, and as I say, it's really stretchy. And I'm going to be going with the rib. So for that reason, I need to choose the lightning stitch, which is a stretch stitch, and it'll stretch with the fabric. So if I pop that underneath, just do a securing stitch at the end there, and you can see how lovely it's stitched that. It's sitting nice and flat, there's no waviness in there to your edge or anything, and you can stretch the fabric with the stitch and across the seam as well, and it's nice and secure. Now, as you saw just now, a Freemotion foot is also included. So let's pop off the walking foot. So we unscrew it from that lower piece first, and then take it out of the big screw, undo that one to take the extension off, because it's only the walking foot that needs that. And then let's pop this one on, and that just straddles on there like that, and you can just pop the screw back in. Just do a last turn to be sure. And this machine has a Freemotion mode, and it's this symbol here. So I can very simply just press that, and it's automatically dropped automatically dropped the feed dogs. It's telling me to use presser foot O, which is the one that I've put on there. And we want a straight stitch rather than the lightning stitch that's on there. That's going to be a bit of a disaster if I kept on that one. And then you want to engage the Freemotion mode. So it's this symbol here. Now, it will have automatically lowered the feed dogs for me, so they won't be coming up. And it's telling me to use foot O, which is the foot that I've got on the machine. Now, it's still on the lightning stitch from sewing the jersey, but we need a straight stitch. So if you go back to number 1, that is straight stitch in the left position, and you can see it's quite close to the edge of the foot. So if you go for number 3, which is in the middle position, you can see you've got clearance either side then. And you just want to pop your fabric in. I'll draw up the bobbin thread. This is where I wish I had a pair of tweezers. There it is. Drop that back in. And then let's stay midway. That should be about right for me. So let's make a start. might just go a little bit quicker. And then you have one side of some feathers, and it's nice and neat. The tension's really good. It's sitting on top of the fabric nicely. And underneath there's no eyelashing or anything like that. It looks really neat. Lastly, let's take a look at its capabilities with a thicker type of fabric. So I'm going to pop the Freemotion foot off and put the standard ankle back on. So raise that up, and then I'm going to pop a jeans needle in because I've got some denim to sew through. So I'll take that out. Again, flat to the back, pop it in as far as it will go and do the screw and the last quarter turn. And I'll pop that in, get that threaded. So I'm going to pop the standard foot back on. Oh, it's not going all the way down, is it? Because I'm still in Freemotion mode. So let's take it out of Freemotion mode, and then it'll go all the way down for me and snap it on. There we go. So we're still on, let's move them out the way, still on the standard straight stitch, which is fine for what we need. Now, because this denim is thicker than the cotton we're using, we're going to increase the stitch length slightly. So you can do that down here. So you can change the width if you want to. Obviously more so for not a straight stitch. However, this will move your needle position. So if you're sewing a zip or some piping or something like that, there's quite a lot of different needle positions, so you can get in nice and close to the teeth of the zip. But I want to be in the center position, and then the length I'm just going to increase to 3mm in there. I'm not going to do anything with the tension or the pressure because the automatic pressure system, so Brother call it ICAPS, which stands for, wait for it, Innov-is Automatic Continuous, no, Innov-is Continuous Automatic Pressure, there you go, ICAPS system on the end. And basically what that means is it's detecting the thickness of fabric that is underneath the foot so that it's automatically adjusting itself, so you don't need to. Lower the presser foot, Anna. There we go. Let's just secure that a minute. And come forward. And let's secure that back. Cut the threads. As you would expect for this type of machine, it's sewn it really well. The stitches are lovely and neat, both underneath as well, and the seam is nice and secure. So let's double that over and go through 4 layers. I'm not going to adjust anything else on the machine. Absolutely no problem at all. Still lovely and neat, no skip stitches. That's the row there. And again, it's still secure. So I'm going to double it over once more and go through 8 layers. And this time I'm going to increase the stitch length just slightly again because it's a lot thicker. And still the same, no problems at all for this machine, and it's still nice and secure. So what about when it comes to, say, a pair of jeans with a thicker denim, and then you're trying to go over the really, really bulky bit? So if I double that over to make it really bulky, there's a little trick with this leveling button. So let's go down on the stitch length again. So you just want to make a start sewing. until you come to about there. And you can see that the foot is now kind of tilting upwards, so it's going to struggle to get over that bump in there. So if you pop the presser foot up, push the leveling button in, and then lower the foot back down, and you can see the foot is now straight along that bit. So you can carry on sewing. It'll automatically pop back out, but it's gone over that bump really, really well. There's nothing skipped, the stitches are still the same length, and it's nice and neat, both on the underside and on the top. Earlier, I mentioned about sewing guides, and they're in this question mark here, and then the part that says sewing guide, quite simply. And it's different principles when you're dressmaking. So for instance, if you were wanting to do a pin tuck, it takes you through the process of how to do a pin tuck. So you've got different pages that you go along, and it gives you the instructions. Not just what you need to do on the machine, how you iron them first and everything else, but what foot to use and how to do the best job on the machine. It's really quite useful. And then on here, you've got different quilting here. So piecing, Freemotion quilting, echo quilting, and a plique as well. So you probably didn't hear that then, but the machine has just moved. So it's set itself up to do a blanket stitch and do a plique for you. This machine comes with a 3-year warranty, and when the machine arrives with you, you'll find this card in the box that explains it to you, including what's covered and what's not covered. And don't forget, we're here at the Sewing Studio for any help or technical support that you might need with your new machine. So I hope through this video you've learned about the Brother Innov-is VQ2 with me and its capabilities and how easy it is to use to help you decide whether it's the right machine for you. If so, why not head on over to our website, pop it in a basket and check out. Delivery is fast and free, and as most instances, it could be with you within a couple of days. Thanks ever so much for watching. Get in touch if there's anything you need, and I hope to see you again soon. Would you like to be the first to hear about new launches, incredible deals of the week, best offers and news from the Sewing Studio? Or join our community of sewers by signing up to receive our newsletters, straight from our team of sewers and quilters. We promise to keep them fun, useful and informative, and we might even pop in some surprises from time to time. So visit our website and sign up today.